Welcome to a comparative journey through two foundational schools of perception science, Gestalt Psychology and Psychophysics. One explores how the mind organizes meaning, and the other, how we measure sensation itself. Perception is the bridge between sensing and understanding. It's how we make sense of what we see, hear, and feel. This presentation looks at two key approaches that shaped our understanding of perception. Gestalt psychology, which focuses on how the mind organizes patterns and wholes, and psychophysics, which studies how physical stimuli relate to our mental experiences. Together, they show how the human mind turns raw sensations into meaningful experiences. In the 19th century, Gustav Fechner established the field of psychophysics. He aimed to connect physical stimuli such as light, weight, or sound with mental sensations they produce using mathematical principles. Through experiments, Fechner introduced important concepts such as just noticeable difference, the smallest change in a stimulus we can detect, and Fechner's law, a formula linking stimulus intensity to perceived sensation. This work gave psychology its first scientific measurement tools. Psychophysics set out to measure human experience in a scientific way. By studying thresholds, the smallest changes in a stimulus that we can notice, Fechner and his followers developed methods like 1. Methods of limits and 2. Methods of constant stimuli. These techniques helped map how physical energy, like light or sound, becomes psychological awareness. In short, psychophysics was the science of measuring the invisible workings of the mind. In the early 20th century, Wertheimer, Köhler, and Koffka questioned the idea that perception is just the sum of individual sensations. They argued that the mind naturally organizes sensations into meaningful wholes, not just separate pieces. This idea became Gestalt psychology, summed up by their famous principle, the whole is different from the sum of its parts. Gestalt psychologists discovered important laws of perception that explain how we naturally make sense of the world. Proximity, we group things that are close together. Similarity, we group things that look alike. Continuity, we perceive smooth continuous patterns. Closure, we mentally fill in missing parts to see a complete shape. Figure ground, we distinguish objects, figures, from their background, ground. These principles show that perception is active. Our mind constructs meaningful experiences rather than just recording raw stimuli. While both schools studied perception, their approaches diverged. Psychophysics was quantitative, objective, and bottom-up, focused on measurement. Gestalt psychology was qualitative, subjective, and top-down, focused on organization. In short, one measured how much we sense, the other explored how we see meaning. Psychophysics emerged from empiricism, the belief that knowledge comes from experience and sensory observation. It focused on how external stimuli shape what we perceive. In contrast, Gestalt psychology was based on phenomenology, the study of lived experience and how the mind organizes perception from within. In a sense, psychophysics began with the stimulus while Gestalt began with the mind's interpretation. Psychophysics laid the groundwork for neuroscience and artificial intelligence, fields that precisely measure and model sensory input. Meanwhile, Gestalt principles have deeply influenced cognitive psychology, visual design, and education, showing how people naturally organize and interpret information. Together, these two traditions still guide how we study, understand, and even simulate human perception today. Psychophysics and Gestalt psychology form the two halves of perception science. Psychophysics focuses on measuring thresholds and sensations, the data side of perception. Gestalt psychology uncovers patterns and meaning, the design side of perception. Together, they shape modern cognitive psychology, where data meets design and sensation meets understanding. From Fechner's careful experiments to the Gestalt laws of perception, psychology's journey has moved from measuring sensations to understanding experiences. Perception is not just raw data, it is design. It is the process by which the human mind transforms energy into experience, turning simple stimuli into the rich world we perceive. These ideas come from the pioneering work of Fechner, Wertheimer, Köhler, and Koffka, great thinkers whose insights still light the way for the science of perception. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.